Welcome back. You're watching Beyond World is One. I'm Shivan Chandna. This is Speed News. Lots to discuss. Let's get started. US Envoy Steve Witkoff has hinted at a breakthrough related to ending the war in Gaza, saying that President Trump has presented a new proposal to Arab and Islamic leaders, which has been termed Trump's 21-point plan for peace in West Asia. The plan was shared during a meeting at the UN General Assembly, where leaders from countries like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Egypt, Jordan, Turkey, Indonesia and Pakistan, they discussed the Gaza conflict. The joint statement released after the meeting called for an immediate ceasefire, humanitarian access and a comprehensive reconstruction plan for Gaza. Italy has urged an international flotilla carrying aid for Gaza to hand over its supplies to the local Catholic Church to avoid any further risks after the flotilla was attacked by drones overnight. The global Sumud flotilla, consisting of around 50 civilian boats, aims to break Israel's naval blockade of Gaza and includes activists like Swedish climate campaigner Greta Thunberg. The Italian Prime Minister proposed delivering the aid via Cyprus to the Latin Patriarchate of Jerusalem. The drone attack, which reportedly lasted around 3 hours, affected 11 vessels with reports of stun grenades and damage to some boats. Italy has sent a Navy ship to assist the flotilla. Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has announced that a Spanish Navy ship will be dispatched to assist the Gaza-bound global Sumud flotilla after several of its boats were targeted by drones off the coast of Greece. France and US warn Iran that it has a final chance now to avoid tough UN sanctions by addressing concerns over its nuclear program. France, Britain, Germany, they have planned to trigger sanctions by Saturday, citing Iran's lack of cooperation. Iranian President Pezeshkian has been urged to reverse the steps taken after a June Israeli-US attack and allow full access to UN nuclear inspectors. Denmark's Aalborg airport was temporarily closed due to drone sightings affecting 4 flights, including 2 SAS planes, 1 Norwegian and 1 KLM flight. The closure comes 2 days after Copenhagen airport was shut down for 4 hours over similar drone sightings, which Denmark considered a serious attack on its critical infrastructure and potentially linked to Russian drone incursions. Investigations are ongoing to determine the cause of the drone sightings and potential connections between the incidents. Amid the ongoing trade tensions between the US and India, US Energy Secretary Chris Wright praised India's thriving economy and highlighted the opportunity for enhanced energy trade between the two countries. Calling India a fast-growing economy and awesome ally of the US, he urged India to reconsider its purchase of Russian oil. Chris Wright's response comes after India's Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal's comments on the country's readiness to buy more US energy. A gunman opened fire from a rooftop onto a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Facility, ICE, in Dallas, Texas, killing 1 detainee and injuring 2 others before taking his own life. The shooter, who was identified as 29-year-old Joshua Yan, fired indiscriminately at the building and a transport van in the Sally Port from the rooftop of a nearby attorney's office. Authorities found unused ammunition with anti-ICE written on it near the shooter's location, suggesting an ideological motive behind the attack. 23 workers were rescued after being trapped for 43 hours in a collapsed underground gold mine in northern Colombia's department. Colombia's National Mining Agency reported that the main entrance to the mine had collapsed on Monday due to a geomechanical failure. The miners were met with applause as they emerged from the La Requilla mine and were provided with food, water and ventilation during the rescue efforts. The mine has about 60 employees and contributes a small portion to Aris Mining's total gold production in the area. At least 9 people have died and 8 others are hospitalized in Colombia after consuming adulterated liquor known as cococho. 5 of the 9 deceased were found on the city streets. Local Health Secretary Stephanie Arroyo said some of the patients are in serious condition due to intoxication from the adulterated liquor. Costa Rica reopened its airspace after a nationwide closure lasting over 5 hours due to a power outage affecting radar systems. The disruption halted all air traffic, impacting both domestic and international flights at key airports. At least 44 flights were affected at Juan Santa Maria, according to airport operator Aeris. Transportation Minister Efraim Zeldon announced an investigation to prevent similar incidents in the future. Brazil's Senate has rejected a constitutional amendment that would have granted lawmakers broad legal immunity known as the Shield PEC. The proposal was met with widespread criticism, with senators and President Lula da Silva condemning it as a threat to democracy and a tool for impunity. The amendment would have required congressional approval for criminal prosecutions of lawmakers and expanded privileged jurisdiction for party leaders. Its rejection is seen as a victory for accountability and transparency in Brazil. Lawmakers in Rio de Janeiro's State Assembly have approved a controversial bonus for police officers who kill criminals, sparking fears of a massacre. The measure, which awaits Governor Castro's approval, would allow officers to earn a 10 to 150% salary bonus for seizing heavy caliber weapons or neutralizing criminals. Critics, including lawmakers and human rights defenders, argue that the policy would incentivize violence and lead to more deaths, particularly in poor and densely populated favelas, where police interventions are already common. Thailand's new coalition government, led by Prime Minister Anutin, was sworn into office after receiving royal endorsement for the new cabinet portfolios. The 36-member cabinet, comprising the Bhumyathai Party and its coalition partners, took the oath of allegiance in a traditional ceremony before the king at Dusit Palace in the capital Bangkok. The Thai Prime Minister plans to dissolve the parliament by the end of January next year, with a general election scheduled for March or early April. Anutin won parliamentary vote in early September to become the third Prime Minister in Thailand since August 2023. Chinese President Xi Jinping attended a gala in Urumqi in Xinjiang, Uyghur Autonomous Region's capital, to mark the region's 70th founding anniversary. The gala, titled Beautiful Xinjiang, showcased the region's progress and development. Xi emphasized maintaining social stability, fostering economic growth, and promoting unity among ethnic groups. Malawi's former president, Peter, has returned to power after winning presidential election, defeating incumbent Lazarus Chakwera amid growing voter frustration over a prolonged economic crisis. Officials from Mutharika's Democratic Progressive Party pledged to steer the nation back on track. The September 16th vote marked the fourth electoral battle between the 85-year-old Mutharika and his 70-year-old rival. French President Macron has been honored with the 2025 Atlantic Council Global Citizen Award, presented by BlackRock CEO Larry Fink on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly. In his acceptance remarks, Macron issued a strong warning about looming threats to the UN Charter, pointing specifically to the conflicts in Ukraine and Gaza. He cautioned that the world faces a grave danger if the rule of law collapses, stressing that such a breakdown could mark a critical turning point. The Indian government has extended General Anil Chauhan's tenure as Chief of Defence Staff (CDS) by 8 months to implement key military reforms, including theaterization of the Indian military forces. His current term was to end on the 30th of September, but he will now continue as CDS in India and Secretary of the Department of Military Affairs until the 30th of May next year, or until further orders. The extension comes at a critical time amid differences within the three services over theaterization, a key reform aimed at optimizing military resources for future wars. Prime Minister Modi has directed the Defence Ministry to take concrete steps to strengthen jointness in the armed forces. India's DRDO, Defence Research and Development Organisation, and the SFC, that is the Strategic Forces Command, have successfully tested India's intermediate range Agni Prime missile, the Agni P, from a rail-based launcher. Who made this announcement was India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, who said that this successful flight test has put India in the group of select nations having this capability that develops canisterized launch systems from on-the-move rail networks. The other nations known to have rail-based missile launchers are China and Russia. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres urges countries to set new climate plans for 2035 and faster and deeper emission cuts ahead of the COP30 negotiations in Brazil. Guterres noted the Paris Agreement has reduced projected global temperature rise from 4 degrees to 2.6. Nine penguins have been released into the sea at Ponta del Este after months of rehabilitation. The penguins were found stranded on the shores of Uruguay in recent months, suffering from hypothermia and other issues. The Maldonado Society for the Conservation of Biodiversity cared for the animals, providing veterinarian food. A key part of the rehabilitation process was waiting for the penguins' plumage to regain the impermeability required for survival in their natural habitat. Tech giants Apple, Google and Microsoft, along with major online travel agency Booking.com, have been asked by EU regulators to detail the measures they are taking to prevent their platforms from being used for financial scams, highlighting Europe's growing concern over the cost of online fraud. The EU is ramping up regulatory scrutiny of US tech companies under the Digital Services Act, which requires big tech to do more to tackle illegal and harmful content. A man in his 40s has been arrested by British police in connection with last week's ransomware attack on Collins Aerospace. The UK's National Crime Agency said that the suspect was held in West Sussex on Tuesday on suspicion of offences under the Computer Misuse Act and has since been released on conditional bail. The cyber attack knocked airport check-in systems offline, causing widespread travel disruption across Europe. Telecommunications giant Optus has been fined $66 million by an Australian judge for exploiting vulnerable customers, including indigenous communities in remote areas. Federal Court Justice Patrick O'Sullivan approved a plea agreement struck between Optus and the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission over unconscionable conduct and inappropriate sales practices. Those were scenes from the United Nations. The UN Chief Secretary General Antonio Guterres has stressed that AI systems must always comply with international law, addressing a high-level debate on the technology's security implications for transforming warfare at the UN Security Council. Guterres said artificial intelligence is no longer a distant future but a force transforming daily life, global economies, and even warfare. He warned that without guardrails, AI can be weaponized. Recent conflicts, he said, have turned into testing grounds for AI-powered targeting and autonomy. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing, the world's largest chip maker, showcased a new strategy to make AI computing chips up to 10 times more energy efficient at a conference in the Silicon Valley. Using AI-powered software from partners like Cadence and Synopsys, TSMC can design complex chips faster and more efficiently than human engineers. The company demonstrated chiplets technology, where smaller chip pieces are packed together, reducing energy use in demanding tasks. Microsoft has announced that it will integrate artificial intelligence models from Anthropic into its Copilot assistant, signaling the software giant's push to reduce dependence on its high-profile partnership with ChatGPT maker OpenAI. Oil prices edged lower as investors took profits after a 7-week high. Despite ongoing supply concerns and strong demand signals, Brent crude it slipped to $69.05 a barrel, with US West Texas Intermediate declined to $64.73. Prices had earlier hit levels not seen before or since October 2023. Analysts say that some traders are locking in gains amid volatility. US sales of new single-family homes jumped 20.5% in August, reaching an annualized rate of 800,000 units, well above economists' expectations of 650. The strong monthly gain marks a 15.4% year-on-year increase and was aided by lower mortgage rates following the Fed's 25 basis point rate cut. Gold edged off record levels after US data surprised markets, casting doubt on the timing of Fed rate cuts. New home sales in the US jumped to their highest since early 2022, a signal that the economy may be stronger than expected, weighing on the prospect of a swift monetary ease. Bullion remained around $3,740 an ounce, less than $50 from its recent peak as investors balanced safe haven demand against a firmer dollar. Markets now turn their attention to the upcoming US inflation data. Defending champions India booked their space and place in the Asia Cup final with a 41-run win over Bangladesh. Bangladesh won the toss and elected to bat first. Opener Abhishek Sharma's 75 powered India to 168 for 6 despite a late innings slowdown. In reply, Bangladesh were bundled out for 127 in the final over. Kuldeep Yadav starred for India with 3 for 18 while Jasprit Bumrah and Varun Chakravarti picked up 2 wickets each. The men in blue could face arch rivals Pakistan in the title clash if they beat Bangladesh today. That's a wrap on Speed News. Thanks so much for tuning in. Short break. Stay with us.